That's all. Yeah.
So welcome to Wine and Wisdom for Parshat Naso. This week is Parshat Naso. Interestingly enough, Kalman is getting the wrong Parsha lesson. And that's because Kalman is reading Parshat Bahalotcha, and we are reading Parshat Naso. How does that happen? Last week, we were learning Parshat Naso the entire week, but on Shabbat, because it was Shavuot, or the second day of Shavuot, so therefore we didn't read Parshat Naso. We read the portion it was Aser to Aser and Kol HaBachor, which is for Shabbat of Shavuot. So therefore we have to continue. We still have to finish the whole Torah in 1 year, so we continue with Parshat Naso for this coming Shabbat. So this coming Shabbat we're going to learn Parshat Naso, which is why last week on Wednesday night, I didn't give the class. It was part of the whole all-night learning, but we had a class on Shavuot given by Rabbi Shalom Shtifel, not on Parshat Naso. So this week we have to catch up with the Parshat Naso. Now in Israel, in the land of Israel, they only had 1 day Shavuot, so that was on Friday. So on Shabbat, they just proceeded to read Parshat Naso, and now they are a Parsha ahead of us. So Kalman should read Parshat Bahalotcha, but I will mention that, I don't know, Kalman, what you've been doing with the quarantine. I guess it's difficult to do anything. But technically, just like it works with jet lag, that your jet lag, some people choose with jet lag, they never get off the jet lag. They just stay on whatever time zone they're originally from. Some people, they stay like if they go to another country, they still
time zone.
No, they don't. They wake up and go to sleep at the same time as they would in New York or in Toronto or wherever they're from, or California, whatever it is. So when it comes to Torah reading, technically that's the best thing to do. You may have to find the right minyan though. So that would mean that Kalman, when he arrived in Israel, which was 2.5 weeks ago, should have been reading regularly, and he should really technically continue as per the regular system. Like that when he comes back here, he can be reading the same thing. So in Israel, very often they will have, and the same thing in the States sometimes when people from Israel are here, if there's a group or a congregation of people that can get together, 10 people to make a minyan, so that they will read the wrong parsha or the right one for them on that week in a separate minyan in addition to whatever minyan is being read in that locale. So I'm going to assume, Kalman, that last Shabbos you didn't hear the Torah reading at all. You were holed up inside a hotel room. But in terms of living with the Torah portion, you should be living with the diaspora one. So all of this was to explain why, even for Kalman, this is the right parsha of the week, because I'm assuming at some point soon he'll come back to the States. Then he'll be back on the same schedule as us. Okay. So what does it talk about in Parshat Naso? After 2 weeks, we better know, right? So Parshat Naso, first of all, finishes off with the counting of the Jewish people, right? In Parshat Bamidbar, which was the first parsha of this book, of the fourth book, the book of Numbers. We read about the counting of the Jewish people and all the tallies and the numbers and how many there were in each tribe, etc. And in this week we count Shevet Levi, the tribe of Levi, which had the Levites and the Kohanim in it. So they are counted, and there was a total of 8,580 of them. By the way, let me move this page along so that you can follow with me. Here we are. In addition to that, we get and this is why the tribe of Levi is counted separately, like that. While they're being counted, they're actually counted per family, meaning, in other words, per extended family that there was in the tribe of Levi. And each one of those extended families had a different job in terms of transporting the Mishkan, the tabernacle, through the desert. And so all of those jobs are listed, or at least mentioned here as we go through it. The laws of Sota are mentioned, which are the laws of a woman who is unfaithful to her wife, and all of the different things that are associated with that. Now is not the time to get into that. And immediately after that, the laws of Nazir. There is a connection between that, which the Talmud talks about. Again, not for now, but Nazir is the Nazirite, someone who swears off drinking wine, cutting his hair, all grape materials, becoming impure to a dead body, etc., etc. Then Birkat Kohanim is mentioned, right? Birkat Kohanim, which we just heard on Shavuot, or at least most of us heard on Shavuot, were the words for that, and meaning the actual liturgy which they say, meaning the actual blessing plus the commandment to bless, the commandment to the priests to bless us, is given in this Torah portion, and then the rest of the Torah portion, which, believe it or not, is really the bulk of it, is designated to all 12 leaders of the tribes, in other words, the princes of the tribes. Each one of them brought their sacrifice, and that is mentioned in this Torah portion. Today, we are going to dive into Birkat Kohanim. And we're going to use Birkat Kohanim to kind of jump into, as I mentioned to some of you earlier, whenever they're still arriving, to kind of jump into blessings as a whole. What does it mean to bless somebody? You know what I mean? Let's start off with the basic question, right, which we all have technically about a blessing. I'm sure you've all thought about this, right? Jews, we know, are full of blessings, right? I'm assuming everybody here has been blessed more than once in your life, and not just when you sneeze, not just bless you when you sneeze, right? I just gave Kalman a beautiful blessing. His son got married. They should build a beautiful home together. You see somebody at a Brit, you give them a blessing, a father at the Brit of his son, you say you should bring him up to Torah, to Chuppah, and to good deeds. You see a baby girl that's born, you see somebody that's celebrating a birthday, a yard site, whatever it is. There's a blessing in Jewish literature for everything, right? And not even in literature, by the way. Very often it's made up blessings. You know, people give their own blessings. Oh, I bless you that this should happen, that should happen. All different sorts of things, no matter what's going on, right? You're graduating, you should have successful years in college, you should be able to pay the bills, you should be able to have health, all these different things. And the million-dollar question is, who gives you the right to bless? Right? In other words, it's nice that we're getting all these blessings from people, but what does that even mean? Doesn't the Talmud say clearly that everything that any Jew is supposed to experience throughout the year is designated for him on Rosh Hashanah? So why bless them? I bless them, let's take a simple blessing, right? I bless Stephanie that she should have more affluence in her life, right? Someone's going through a troubled time, you tell them, I want you to have more parnassa in your life, right? I don't get it. Does Hashem intend for me to have $100? I'm going to have $100. If you tell me to say, if you give me a bracha that I should have 200, it's not going to help. Give me a bracha of this business, this should go through, what's the point of a blessing? And this question can really be asked about everybody, even the holiest of rabbis or of tzaddikim or whatever it is, of righteous people, right? But certainly it's a question when it comes to simple people. Because you can tell me, oh, I come to a righteous person, Hashem listens to them. Maybe because they do miracles or because they have a good rapport with God, so therefore they can beseech on my behalf, they can intercede on my behalf, whatever it is. But you're telling me that me, a simple Jew, I'm going to give Stephanie a blessing, that's going to help? How's that going to alter God's master plan for the universe and the microcosm of that, which is Stephanie's fate? So we're going to try to talk about that, and by the end of today, walk away with a very powerful appreciation for exactly how much value there is to the blessing of a simple person. As I mentioned earlier, it's mentioned in the Talmud. We're going to quote that Talmud later, but we're also going to talk about the behind the scenes of that. So without further ado, let's start off with, in this week's Torah portion, we mention the Birkat Kohanim. Stephanie, want to read for us? Go for it. Text 1a.
Hashem talked to Moses, saying, speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, this is how you shall bless the children of Israel, saying this to him, may Hashem bless you and watch over you. May Hashem cause his countenance to shine to you and favor you. May Hashem rise his countenance towards you and grant you peace. They shall bestow my name upon the children of Israel, and that I will bless them, so that I will bless them.
Thank you, Stephanie. So here we have the text of the priestly blessing. This is where it comes from. In addition to that, we have the commandment to Aaron and his children and all of the priests that they should bless the Jewish people. Great. Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Hashem panav elecha v'foneka, Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasim l'cha shalom. Many of you will recognize this blessing. But actually, this is not the first time that Aaron fulfilled this commandment. Even before this commandment was given in Parshat Vayikra, as part of all of the celebrations of the inauguration of the first temple, which was the mini temple, the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the desert. Text 1b, Stephanie, you want to continue? Sorry, I got to turn the page here.
And Moses lifted up his hands.
Aaron.
Oh, I'm sorry. And Aaron lifted up his hands towards the people and blessed them. He then descended from preparing the sin offering and burnt offering and the peace offering. And Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting. Then they came out and blessed the people. And the glory of Hashem appeared to all the people.
All right, so this is actually the first occurrence of Aaron or the priests blessing the Jewish people in general. And by the way, you'll notice that he raises his hands, right? That's where it comes from, that the Kohanim raise their hands. So from here we get our Birkat Kohanim that we do on a daily basis in the shul. Kalman, you want to read for us? This is the Ramban or Nachmanides in his in his commentary on the Torah, he tells us that from here we learn out that it is a mitzvah for all time. Go ahead.
And this is how you shall bless. I have already mentioned in the reading of Shmini that Aaron was commanded to raise his hands toward the people and bless them on that day. Here, Aaron and his sons were commanded to bless them for future generations, and the Torah enumerates the language of the blessing they should use.
So you'll notice here, this is, if you look right under where it says text 2, you'll see that the source for this explanation of the Ramban is actually in this parsha, but he's referencing the other parsha, and right, in other words, in Vayikra and Shemini, in Vayikra, where it's discussed how Aaron blessed the first time, and he says that between the two of them, we get our instructions for the fact that the priests, the Kohanim, are supposed to bless the Jewish people throughout eternity. And of course, many of you know that one of my favorite codifiers of Jewish law is the Chinuch, because the Chinuch doesn't just codify the Jewish law, but he also gives us kind of juice and understanding. He has this section he calls Misharshe HaMitzvah, which you can see quoted in text 3, where he tries to give reasons for the mitzvahs, even if we don't have any reasons, at least to try to, give us some flavor to it. Arnold, you want to read for us?
Okay. One of the reasons for this mitzvah, in his great goodness, God desires to bless his people through those who regularly reside in God's house, whose every thought is devoted to his service, whose souls are bound to him in awe all day. In their merit, the blessings will land on them, and all their deeds will be blessed, and God's pleasantness will be upon them.
Okay, so there's something special. Thank you, Yosef Ilan. So there is something special about a Kohen, not because of who he is, but because of what he does.
Right.
A Kohen serves in the temple every single day, all day. So it is fitting, and this is what he's busy with. He's busy with serving Hashem. So who better to bless us and to bring down Hashem's countenance upon us, like we say in the blessing, than a Kohen. Now, how often should this happen? So many of you are familiar that this happens every day as part of davening. But before we get to that, the Kohanim, there's kind of different customs. There are some communities where they do it every Shabbos. On a Shabbat, that's when the Kohanim come up to the Duchan, they come up to the stage to give the blessing. Right. In Israel, in the land of Israel, or is it just in Yerushalayim? I think it's just in Jerusalem. Kohanim do this every single day. They come up to the front and they do Birkat Kohanim. That's the custom there, as I'm sure Kalman can attest to. I don't know if he's been to any minions. It's a little hard these days, but they do this every single day. But in general, the accepted diaspora custom, which means in Chutz La'aretz, outside of the land of Israel, any regular shul goer will tell you, when does Birkat Kohanim take place? On the 3 high holidays, right? Or, well, including Rosh Hashanah, meaning on the 3 pilgrimage holidays, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, as well as in Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, etc. So on these special holidays, that's when we call up the Kohanim. So why, right? I don't understand. We just got a mitzvah that Kohanim are supposed to bless the Jewish people. Seriously, you're like, now you're going to limit it to when? You would think this would be a daily thing, right? Why are they kind of, shirking their responsibility to bless us by only doing it on specific times? So there's lots of different reasons given as to why Kohanim might not do the bracha every single day. There are some technical things like them going to mikvah and a couple of other things which we'll talk about soon. But I want to talk about a very technical one. The mitzvah of Birkat Kohanim, or the priestly blessing, like many mitzvahs, has some prerequisites to it, has some conditions that need to be met in order for this mitzvah to happen. So many mitzvahs are like this. A mitzvah can be only on specific people, whether it's only on men or only on women, or only on Kohanim, by the way. A mitzvah can be only in certain places, like only in the land of Israel, only in a city with a wall, only in a city without a wall, right? All these sorts of prerequisites. And then you have sometimes a specific condition for a specific mitzvah. For instance, the mitzvah of tzitzit, right? We all know it's a circumstantial mitzvah. Even though we all choose to wear a 4-cornered garment that they put tzitzit on it and wear it every single day, right? But technically, if I go about my day and I'm not wearing a 4-cornered garment, I can technically not wear tzitzit and not do the mitzvah of tzitzit. It's only circumstantial. It's only if you happen to have a 4-cornered garment, then you should do it. It turns out that the mitzvah of Birkat Kohanim works similarly. The mitzvah of Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing, is only when a Kohen is called upon to bless by someone, by the Chazan, by a member of the crowd, whoever it is. Which is why, by the way, you might notice that there's a very big emphasis placed on the Chazan saying the word Kohanim before the Kohanim bless the Jewish people. When however often it is, he always says Kohanim, and as soon as he says that, that's when the priests rise to go and kind of accept that responsibility.
Is that when they go and they wash their hands or what?
No. They wash their hands earlier because they know it's coming, but technically they're not supposed to bless until called upon to bless, which is why that's how we started off.
Okay.
Now, in text 4, which is a little bit of a longer text, Tom, you want to read it for us? Text 4, we're going to talk about how important this business is. This is from the Rosh, or one of the most famous commentaries on the Talmud after Rashi and Tosfot. He's probably, and I guess after the Parshat, he's probably one of the more famous ones. He discusses something discussed in the Tractate of Megillah. In the Tractate of Megillah, it says, any priest who does not ascend to the platform transgresses 3 commandments. And the Rosh explains what he means. Go ahead.
The Jerusalem Talmud states that when Rabbi Ado bar Pazi was feeling too weak or lightheaded, he would stand behind a column. Rabbi Elazar would depart. That is, he would go outside so that he would not be required to ascend to the platform when the cantor calls to the priests. The statement that a priest who does not go up transgresses 3 commandments refers to once the cantor has called to the priests. This is because the words in the Torah, say unto them, are rendered in the Aramaic translation as when they say to them. If he is in the synagogue when the cantor calls to the priest and he does not ascend, then he transgresses. If he's not in the synagogue, then he does not transgress.
So the Gemara, thank you, Kalman. So the Gemara in Megillah is discussing that it's a big transgression. It's a big deal for a Kohen not to go up when he's called, right? So, and that's why Rabbi Ado bar Pazi, who was a Kohen, would go behind the bar, and Rabbi Elazar would go out of the room, because they would, if they weren't feeling up to blessing the Jewish people, they had to make sure not to hear the Chazan call them up, because then they would literally be transgressing the say to them. In other words, Amar Lahem, when you're called upon by anyone to bless the Jewish people, you can never say no. By the way, in a similar vein, we'll talk about this a little later, for every single one of us, right? Many of you know that depending on where you're holding in the middle of davening, you can interrupt or you can interrupt, etc., right? But if the congregation is saying Baruch Hu, you almost always need to say Baruch Hu. What does that mean? When the Chazan says Baruch Hu et Hashem Baruch, calling upon us to bless Hashem, right? Mm-hmm. We cannot shy away from that responsibility. You would literally have to be in the middle of Shema or in the middle of Shemona Esrei not to respond after that, right? Why? Because to say, which is when we say Baruch Hashem and Baruch L'Lamed, or in other words, blessing Hashem, right? You mean the Chazan is calling upon you to bless God and you're choosing not to? That's a very big deal. You better be in the middle of something very serious, maybe in the middle of blessing Hashem. That's the only thing that can exempt you from that responsibility. So similarly, when it comes to a Kohen, blessing the Jewish people is a very big deal. And if he's not called upon, he shouldn't say it. So, as a very technical thing, could be that when Kohanim, that because the rest of the year we don't call upon, the Kohen is not called upon by the Chazan or anyone else to bless the Jewish people, therefore they are exempt. Now, this is a great answer, but it's not really a good answer for why in the diaspora we choose not to do this that often, because when it comes to tzitzit, we said we choose to wear tzitzit every single day. We wear a 4-cornered garment in order to be able to put on tzitzit, in order to be able to do a mitzvah of Hashem. So shouldn't the Kohanim be looking for the same amount of mitzvah? Shouldn't we call them every day like that they should be able to bless, like that they should be able to fulfill that mitzvah? Right? So there are really more explanations. Stephanie, you want to read for us the second one, text 5a. This is from Shulchan Aruch, who explains today's custom.
The Gur is writing that the Maharais
Moedin, okay,
was once asked why the priests do not raise their hands in blessing every day if it is positive commandment to do so. He answered that inasmuch as the priests are accustomed to the first immersion themselves in water,
In other words, going to the mikveh. Go ahead.
To spiritually prepare for delivering the blessing. Your cursor's in the way. As it is written, that's okay. As it is written in the Hagas Manias. I'm sorry.
Hagas Maimonis. Okay, this is another halachic. So you have to understand that the text that you're reading, Stephanie, now is the Shulchan Aruch, which is literally from very recent. It's from 400 years ago, 500 years ago. So this is the one that we follow till today, basically. I mean, obviously there's been commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, as you can imagine, but this is the Jewish code of law that dictates what we do till today. So he had to codify it based on lots of different things that came before him. So he never quotes on his own. He's always collecting from all of them and ruling what we should do. So that's why you're hearing him quote all these different people. Go ahead.
And it is difficult to do so every day during the winter. Therefore, the custom has emerged to only perform the blessing on the festivals.
Okay, so here's reason number one we had was that the Kohanim are not called every single day here in the diaspora. Reason number two why we don't do Birkat Kohanim every day, and I guess why we choose not to call them, right, is because a mikveh. A Kohen should ideally go to a mikveh before doing such a holy mitzvah as blessing the Jewish people, or before being a conduit for blessing to come upon the Jewish people. But that's a difficult task to tell somebody to do that every single day. That's very difficult. You know, I try to go to the mikveh every single day, but then I move to Pasadena, and boom, you know, that's very difficult to do. So therefore, they don't have to. But the Shulchan Aruch brings a second and more straightforward reason. Stephanie, keep reading. 5b.
Another reason is as to avoid people taking off from work. As long as the priest is not called to bless, he does not transgress. The Maharil has strained to find an explanation to justify the custom that was prevalent in his place.
Thank you, Stephanie. So the Rabbi Yosef Cairo says, I don't know why the Maharil had to go so far, he says, to find a reason for the custom that was in his place. In other words, the Maharil was looking around, and he saw that nobody does Birkat Kohanim every single day. So he came across this concept of going to the mikveh. But then he adds another reason. He says, listen, it's not such a big deal. It's a very simple and straightforward concept. As it is, look, we could get out of it. By not calling them, we don't have to have it. Now, Birkat Kohanim takes a while, especially if you're in a Chabad shul and they go, right? So Birkat Kohanim takes a while. On the holidays, everybody's in shul, you're there, and by the way, there are some people that have the custom even to do it on Shabbat. That also makes sense. People don't have work. But in every single day, you're going to make davening take an extra amount of time. As it is, you know, on Rosh Chodesh, people come late to work, everybody wants to know what's going on. You're like, whatever, there was a couple of extra paragraphs we needed to say, the Hallel, right? They say, that's why I think a lot of Jews owe their life to the fact that the morning of 9/11, 2001 was a Selichot morning, was a morning when they had to say Selichot. It was right before Rosh Hashanah when we get up early, right? So a lot of people were late to work because there was extra davening, right? Now imagine if it was every single day of our lives, you're going to add on another thing to davening. So the Chacham had Rahmanis, you know, they had pity on the people. That's when they didn't do it. All right, but let's see a little more of a psychological explanation. This is from the most recent Shulchan Aruch that we have, which is the Alter Rebbe, literally from 200 years ago. Arnold, go ahead.
The prevailing custom in all of these lands is to only perform the priestly blessing on the holidays, because then they are revealing in the joy of the holiday. And a good heart blesses. However, on the other days, even on Shabbat, they are distracted by their livelihood and their inability to work, and they are not in a state of joy.
So a Kohen needs to be in a certain psychological state of mind, I guess, or presence. Yeah. He has to be able to channel things properly. If he's not a happy person, he can't do Birkat Kohanim. By the way, if a Kohen is not a happy person, and people in the community know that, if the Kohen is someone who does get angry at people very often, he has an anger management issue, whatever it is, In Shulchan Aruch, it's actually discussed that perhaps he shouldn't say Birkat Kohanim. So if some of you are thinking that, you're right, you're on the right track. But certainly, even a regular person, Kohen, let's say, has got to figure out a way to get himself into a happy state of mind in order to channel the priestly blessing. So, and on a holiday, when we have a mitzvah of B'samachta to be joyous, and Shulchan Aruch even gives us ideas as to how we should do that. We should buy new clothing, we should eat meat, we should drink wine, right? Maybe during Wine and Wisdom we can do Birkat Kohanim, right? So these things put a person in a joyous state of mind, and that's why they can give the priestly blessing. By the way, I did not think about this while preparing, but just a random question. In our shul, many of you are familiar here in Pasadena, we don't have that many Kohanim, we have a couple Kohanim, and very often, so one of the families of Kohanim that we have here is the Khan family, who, by the way, for those of you that are interested and those that read Hebrew, you can check him out. He is an Israeli lawyer, and he moved here because his wife is pursuing a doctorate, and they have like 5 kids. And he has an ongoing column in I think it's on Arutz Sheva. I don't remember exactly, but certainly if you search his name up in Hebrew, his name is Ariel Kahan. He writes articles like once a month, once every 2 weeks, whatever it is. It's called Tasti La Tzot Habrit Miyad Achzor. I'm on leave I left it. I forgot exactly. I left the United States. I'll be right back, or something like that. And he kind of gives insights into the way life works here in the United States. Now, there are different rabbinic opinions as to what an Israeli who's living here should do. It would depend how permanent their residence is here. But sometimes an Israeli is supposed to keep 1 day of Yom Tov even when they're here. So the Khans follow this custom. And so therefore, come Shavuot or Passover or Sukkot, whatever it is, they only keep 2 days. Sorry, they keep one at the beginning, one at the end. They don't keep that second day. Occasionally, if all of our other Kohanim are out of town or can't make it to shul, or we're worried we won't have a Kohen to do Birkat Kohanim, the Rabbi Anoka will ask them, can you show up on the second day, even though you're not celebrating, in order to bless us? Uh-huh. And it's cute because they come and they're not necessarily, they try to respect the shul, etc., but they're not necessarily wearing as pretty clothing as they would on the holiday, and maybe they'll come scootering over. Certainly not everybody will come, just the boys and just those that are over, whatever. They don't come for the whole davening, they just pop in for Birkat Kohanim, they pop out. In any event, based on this law, they're missing a major component to their blessing us, because for them it's not the Chag, for them it's not holiday because they're not celebrating. So then when they bless us, they're not harnessing that joy of the holiday in order to bless us. It's just an interesting observation. In any event, we'll skip.
Bye-bye.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to mention, along the same lines, there's a Shaila Chuz from the Radvaz who asks if a person is single and unmarried, is he in the right happy state of mind to be able to bless? I don't know if you know about that, but
that's beautiful. In other words,
in that tshuva, he says, Fakir, maybe he's in a greater state of simcha than somebody who is.
That's what I was going to suggest. I was going to say, not all married people are happy.
You said that because you wanted to bring up that line, didn't you?
Of course.
But he writes it. He writes it.
Calvin didn't make it up though. Very good. Very, very nice. In any event. By the way, there's lots of places you can take this. Maybe should you look for the happiest coin to bless you? Does that make your blessing more powerful? If you look for a happier coin, maybe somebody who just won the lottery, or somebody who good business deal just went through, and you're like, you bless me. I want you to give me Birkat Kohanim, All different ways of looking at this. All right. So this blessing, though, this concept, we explored it. We explored why, in Israel it's so many days, and in the diaspora it's less. But who blesses us is Kohanim. Not simple people. Simple people don't bless. In fact, let's read text 9. I'll read this one. A non-priest who lifted his hands, i.e. performed the priestly blessing, even if it is in conjunction with priests, violates a positive commandment. As it says, speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, this is how you shall bless the children of Israel, which implies that others may not. In other words, because the Torah chooses to tell us that it's specifically them that should bless us, so therefore, if someone else chooses to say those words, and by the way, there are those, this is not the halacha, But you would think that perhaps this would mean that anybody who even says these words, I just said these words in Hebrew, after Stephanie read them in English, I said the words in Hebrew, maybe I transgressed the halacha, right? So it turns out that you don't transgress doing this as a regular comment. Are you a Kohen?
No.
You're not. Yosef Ilan is not either, and Stephanie, I don't think you are either. So, so only if you put up your hands, only if you put up your hands like this and raise them above your head in the manner in which we said that the Kohen need to do it, and then you say the priestly blessing, only then you transgress the fact that a Kohen is not allowed to do it. Okay. Now, so by the way, this explains I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Really, I answered the question already, but let's still see the question here, right? The question is in text 10, we see from the Mata Ephraim, which is another halachic authority, that there is a concept of non-Kohanim blessing using the priestly blessing. I am referring to Erev Yom Kippur for all, and for those that have the custom, also on Erev Shabbat, which means on Friday. Kalman, you want to read for us about this?
Okay. It has become customary for the father and mother to bless their children before going to the synagogue. In this blessing, they also wish that they be sealed for a good life, that their hearts retain a proper fear of God, that their hearts should be implanted with a wholehearted love and fear of God. Everyone does so in accordance with the nature of his own heart and fluency of his tongue, pouring out weeping, tearful supplications that God make his words come true, that his prayers be accepted, pleading with God to hearken to the blessing. As a result of this, one's sons and daughters are inspired to walk a good path of the righteous, and to strengthen their hearts to the Torah.
Thank you, Kalman. Now this, wouldn't you know it, what is the custom? What do we bless our children with? So in addition to Yesimcha Elokim Ke'Ephraim V'Chemenashe, which has to do with the fact that Jacob told Joseph, his son, that forever the Jewish people will bless their children to be like your two children, Ephraim and Menashe. So therefore on Erev Yom Kippur, we tell them, we bless our children to be like them. But in addition to that, we also tell them the blessing, these words, right? Not just that, but in some communities, Stephanie, you want to read for us text 11? In some communities, they even do it every week on Friday. Go ahead.
In many places on the eve of Shabbat or Yom Kippur, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren are accustomed to gathering in the father's or grandfather's home to receive his blessings. The parents then bless every member of the family, from the youngest to the oldest, the smallest children aged 3 and 4 years old, or youth already after the age of bar mitzvah, those of the marriageable age, already married, or who already have sons and daughters of their own, and even older Jews who have already married off their children.
So here comes the $1 million question. So how can we do that? And I know I gave the answer already because I messed up the order a little bit in my head and I gave you guys the answer before the question. But how is it that we can choose if Shulchan Aruch told us clearly that anybody who blesses using the priestly blessing transgresses a commandment? How can we choose to do this on Erev Yom Kippur or every Friday, whatever your custom is? How can we give our children this? By the way, there are those that give this blessing at other opportunities as well. I will tell you as a rabbi, in certain instances, this is the most opportune blessing that I can give. I wish I was a Kohen and I can give it with that power, but I can't. But I can give it even as a regular person, and I do so. I was at somebody's housewarming, for instance, recently. And so obviously we did the mitzvahs of the housewarming. We put up mezuzahs around the house, and we shared Torah in the house, etc. But then he wanted me to bless the house. There's no blessing for the house. I mean, there is this thing called birchat habayim, but there isn't technically anything. I figured the most appropriate thing that I can bless it with is the blessing that the Torah itself gives us, which is that Hashem should shine His countenance down upon him in this house, right? But how can I transgress this commandment? Or how can fathers do this on Erev Yom Kippur or on Erev Shabbat, right? So the Mishnah Brura explains. Sorry, not the Mishnah Brura. The Biur Halacha. I thought it was the Mishnah Brura. Okay, so he explains. Arnold, you want to go ahead?
Okay. One is perplexed by the widespread custom for people, whether or not they are priests, to bless their friends when when seeing them off by using the language of the priestly blessing. It was with regard to this that the Torah said, priests should bless and not others. How is it permissible for the non-priest to bless his fellows and using his blessing? Perhaps one might suggest that the rationale for the custom is accorded with the Bach, who maintain that a non-priest only blesses this prohibition, only violates this prohibition if, could you move the cursor a little bit?
Sorry, go ahead.
If he delivered the blessing while holding up and spreading out his hands. Alternatively, since the rabbis have instituted that the priestly blessings are not to be delivered without the accompaniment of prayer, regarding someone who cites the verse of the blessings outside of the prayer service, whether or not he is a priest, it is considered as if his explicit intention is not to fulfill the mitzvah of the priestly blessing. Thus, it is permitted. That's interesting.
Thank you, Yosef Ilan. First of all, let me amend my previous statement. I had forgotten, it was the Mishnah Brura. I just didn't recognize that Biur Halacha. The Mishnah Brura, or the Chafetz Chaim, as he's often called, obviously authored the Chafetz Chaim, which is one of his most popular books, and the Mishnah Brura, which is kind of a more concise version of Shulchan Aruch. The Biur Halacha is his commentary on the Shulchan Aruch. So that's just to clarify that. I'm trying to figure out, why did he say Biur Halacha? I was like, oh, right. That's what his commentary is called. It's not the most, it's not the ones that he's most famous for, but it's kind of the precursor to his thing. But what did Yosef Ilan just read for us? That, okay, don't worry about it. You shouldn't read it like, saying Hashem's name, that we always say Hashem, or the Holy One, blessed be He, or the Creator of the world, or Master of the world. We shouldn't read it like that. The words of Birkat Kohanim can be said. You're allowed to say those words, just so long as you don't do two things. First of all, don't raise your hands. Second of all, don't do it in the middle of the Amidah. This way, nobody will mistake that you're doing Birkat Kohanim and you're not transgressing this concept. All right. This is all a great answer, but it's really a very technical answer. And here, this is really the question I've been trying to lead up to, which is going to lead us into section 3, which is the power of a simpleton or a regular person's blessing. Here's the real question. We answered how we are able to give the priestly blessing, right? But couldn't we think of other things? I mentioned Yasimcha Elokim Ephraim v'Menashe, right? That Hashem should make you like Ephraim and Menashe, Joseph's two children. Isn't that enough for Erev Yom Kippur and Erev Shabbat? Why do we stick in Birkat Kohanim? And then we have to rely on a loophole that we're allowed to because we're not doing it in the Rosh Hashanah, because we're not raising our hands. Why are you getting close to it? If it's not your business, it's not your business. If you're not supposed to be blessing, don't bless, right? What is this? And coupled with that, this ties into the question we asked at the beginning of the lesson, which is, what does it even mean to bless, right? So with regards to a Kohen, what does it mean to bless? But certainly with regards to a simple person, me, I'm going to take these words that it says in the Torah, I'm going to say them to my son, and this is going to kind of, what were the words he used? Make sure that they follow the righteous, they walk the good path, the path of the righteous, and to strengthen their hearts to the Torah. That's only going to happen if they put their minds to it. What's it going to help if I bless them, right? I'm going to bless somebody that a business deal should go through. If Hashem wants it, it'll happen. If he doesn't want it, it won't happen. What's my blessing going to help, right? And this leads us to section 3. Let's talk about a lot more than Birkat Kohanim. Not just Kohanim, not just Kohanim, and not just Birkat Kohanim. But the power is actually in your hands. There's a certain power to me giving Kalman a bracha, and Kalman giving Stephanie a bracha, and Stephanie giving Yosef Ilan a bracha, and etc. Where are we holding? Yosef Ilan just read for us. So Kalman, you want to read for us? The power is in your hands. Text 13a. This comes from Bereshis, right? This is one of the first blessings when Hashem gives a blessing to Avraham Avinu, that he should be able to give blessings to others. And this is the source of the concept of blessings in terms of the Jewish people. Go ahead, Kalman.
And I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will aggrandize your name, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you, and the ones who curses you I will curse. And all of the families of the earth shall be blessed in you.
We are in the third parsha of the Torah. Abraham has been spending years discovering the oneness of Hashem, and finally Hashem says, it's time for me to speak to him for the first time. Vayomer Hashem al Avram, Hashem speaks to Avram Avinu, and he says, Lech lecha me'artzecha, leave your land and go to the land that I will show, right? Leave your birthplace, etc., right? Lech lecha me'artzecha, me'ladcha, me'savicha, the house of your father, and go to the land that I will show you. Then he says, over there I'm going to make you into a great nation. And I will bless you. And I will bless those whom you bless. Says the Medrash in text 13b on this pasuk. Come and finish off for us. Oh, sorry.
Rabbi Berechia said, and I will bless you, has already been written. What is the additional, you shall be a blessing, teaching? So God is saying unto him, until now, I have had to bless my world, but from now on, the blessings have been transmitted to you. Bless those who are worthy of blessing.
Says Hashem, until this moment, I have held all of the blessings in my hand. I've held the full deck of cards, and now I'm passing them on to you. And I want you and your descendants to bless the world. And from that moment forward, Avraham Avinu and each of us that are descendants of Avraham Avinu have the power to bless each other. Stephanie, let's see what this is all about. Text 14.
Every Jewish person possesses the capacity to impact the entire world. Certainly, this is something one ought to utilize. First and foremost, by every Jewish person blessing the rest of the Jewish people in every manner of good. And certainly Hashem will fulfill his blessings in the manner of blessing those who bless you.
Mhm.
So we now have the power to bless other people. But what are we doing when we bless them? What are we doing? What does the word bracha even mean? What does the word bracha mean? Bracha means, we translate it as blessing, but where else can we find this word bracha? And what is going on? Does bracha mean saying words to someone else? Is that what a blessing is? Or is there more? What's behind the scenes of the blessing that we give? So before we move on, let's just do a little bit of grammar. The word bracha can be found in this Mishnah, okay, in another form. The word hamavrich. Does everybody see that first word there? Hamavrich. Here it's in the causative verb, lehavrich. And what does it mean? It means if someone bends a vine into the ground, it is not covered with 3 handles of soil. He may not sow a seed on top of it. All right. Without getting into don't let the rest of the Mishnah distract you. We're here just to understand what the word bracha means. Here we find it in Torah, in a Mishnah, hamavrich. And it's talking about someone who takes a vine and bends it downwards or draws it downwards in order to make it grow into the ground, etc. I believe it's discussing kilayim there, which means merging 2 different types of fruits. And the question is whether he did it or he didn't do it, whether he's obligated, whether he has transgressed or he hasn't transgressed, without getting into that. So the word bracha, to be mavrich, to baruch somebody, to say the word baruch to somebody means to draw something down. What are we drawing down? So the Kabbalah teaches us, and we're going to do this in just a moment. We'll read a little bit from the Alter Rebbe who quotes from Kabbalah. The Kabbalah teaches us that whenever a person gives a blessing, inherently what they're doing is they're taking something that's hidden and they're revealing it. They're taking something which maybe exists only in a spiritual form and they're drawing it down, just like the man who draws down the grapevine. They're drawing it down into the physical world. They're bringing down something which is hidden into the physical world. As we read in text 16, Arnold.
There are hidden worlds which are not revealed but function as the source for the revealed worlds. Everything that exists in the revealed worlds must have a source in the hidden worlds. So it is mentioned in the teachings of the sages that there is not a blade of grass below that does not have a corresponding spiritual force above. And so it is higher and higher unto the greatest of heights, as it is written, for the highest over the high weight. The highest over the high weight, not a weight, but a weight, okay. And there are higher ones over them.
So
I didn't like that English there.
You didn't like that in English translation.
Yeah.
I'll let the editors know. Thank you, Yosef Ilan. So it turns out, and by the way, this is discussed in Chassidus at length, that any physical things that are going on in this world, whether it's just you walking, whether it's a business deal, whether it's your health, whether it's your children's prospects of marriage, whether it's whatever it is, right? All the things that we typically bless each other for, before they come down into this physical world, they go through this like major evolutionary process where they go from spiritual to becoming physical realities, so to speak, or at least what we call realities. Now, without getting into too much detail of that, because this is discussed in many, all the different details along the way are discussed in different Hasidic discourses from different rabbis and different, Kabbalistic sources. Without getting into too much of that, let's just use a simple analogy of a factory. Yeah, I get a bar of chocolate in my hands. Before I get that bar of chocolate, as by the way we've learned over coronavirus, there are many steps that precede it, right? Perhaps this chocolate is imported from Switzerland, right? Never mind the fact that it has, so therefore it has to go through a whole delivery process, and that's why actually at Trader Joe's, if you walk in there, you'll see certain items are not available now, or in Ralph's, or
right.
I don't know what the chains are in Israel, but whatever makholet you go to in Israel, or in Toronto, it's is it Acme? No. What is it? What are the chains in Toronto? Are they Acme?
No, there's no Acme in Canada. It would be Sobeys, Loblaw.
Sobeys. That's the one I was thinking about. Sobeys. So when you walk in there now, these days, many of the items that we're used to are not available. Some of them because of the delivery process, because there's something that needs to happen in the delivery process. Maybe it's importing it from a different country, which the U.S. is not allowing now, or whatever it is, that all of a sudden was interrupted. And sometimes it has to do with how it's manufactured. It's a particular type of product, and maybe the manufacturing process is too intimately involved, and they feel like it would spread the virus. So therefore, we're told that that's not allowed. So all of a sudden, we get this window into the fact that there's so much that goes on before I get a bar of chocolate in my hands. There's a factory, there's people that work in the factory, there's machines that work in the factory, right? So imagine anytime you get anything down here in this physical world, it's kind of going through this great factory, and along the way, many things could go wrong. It could go wrong in the delivery process. It could go wrong in the store. Maybe they're just out of stock. It could go wrong in the factory that the machine breaks down, right? So when someone gives you a blessing, what are they doing? They're helping this drawing down process. Inherently, using our analogy, you could say, they're just oiling the machines a little bit in order to avoid any particular obstacle which might come up. So in this vein, we should always be blessing each other, right? We should always be blessing each other. Think of the fact that just a few weeks ago, if you need a physical example, I blessed Kalman that he should be dancing at his son's wedding. And I do not profess to be a miracle worker or a blessing professional. But as a simpleton, from one simpleton to another, well, not Kalman is not a simpleton, but from one person to another, we managed to affect that something. Now, does this mean that I caused that he should go to this? Absolutely not. But it means that me as a Jew with this power of Va'avarucha b'barachecha, that Hashem promises that those that the Jewish people bless will be blessed, right? With that power, I blessed Kalman, and something which was supposed to come his way anyways, but was going through a little glitch. What happened was that glitch got eased up because of a bracha. And I have no doubt that I played a part in that. I don't say that in an egotistical manner. I say that because I know that this is the power of a blessing, right? And this is why the Talmud tells us in text. We did 17 already? I guess not. I thought we had done 17 already, so I started talking about it already. Kalman, go ahead. Text 17. This is from the Rebbe, not the Alter Rebbe, our Rebbe.
Inasmuch as we find ourselves at a favorable time and in an auspicious day, a special time of Simchas Torah, before the Hakafos dancing, it would be appropriate for every person to make the most of this time by conveying blessings to a friend and to all the Jewish people. To use the traditional language of the priestly blessing would be even better, for it includes every manner of blessing, literally down to the most material matters, children, health, ample sustenance, and may they all be ample and abundant, all experienced in a tranquil state of body and mind to the point of utter tranquility, of which it is said, their rest comes from you.
So this is a book that we don't quote as often. This is not a book of the Rebbe's scholarly talks edited beautifully. In fact, this is a book of unedited talks of the Rebbe as they were delivered and not edited by anyone and not necessarily all perfectly remembered, but it's kind of to give you an idea as to what was going on in the moment when the Rebbe shared these thoughts. So this is from right before Hakafot, and the Rebbe is talking to the people there. And the Rebbe says to them, look, we find ourselves in a very auspicious day. There's a lot of spiritual energy going on over here. The Rebbe was able to tap into that. Never mind the fact that even on Simchat Torah, you don't even need to know that. We know, meaning you don't need to be someone who can tap into it, even without knowing, even without feeling it or experiencing it. You know that there's a lot of spiritual energy going on. But instead of telling people, tune into it, meditate, connect to Hashem, the Rebbe says, let's harness this power and double the effect. Everybody should bless those next to each other, which is why you find very often by Fabringans, Chassidim will wish each other l'chaim and say to good health and to happiness, etc. Right? Why? When you find yourself in an auspicious time, one of the best things you could do is double that effect by blessing each other, right? Because then you also are adding your va'avarachem avarachecha to the equation. And this is why the Talmud tells us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you're getting a blessing from those that bless you, or you're giving a blessing to those.
You're getting a blessing from Hashem.
Yeah.
But Hashem has promised Avraham Avinu that his descendants, va'avarecha, those that they bless, mevarachecha, Hashem will bless them. The opposite, sorry. Va'avarecha, Hashem says, I will bless, mevarachecha, those that you bless. Right? Okay. So, and this is what leads us to the Talmudic saying, which I opened up with at the beginning of the class. Stephanie, you want to read for us? 18a.
Rabbi Elazar ben Hanaha also said, let not the blessings of the ordinary man be lightly esteemed in your eyes.
Even an ordinary person who gives you a blessing, don't say, who do you think you are to bless me? There's a lot of power to it. Keep reading, 18b.
One ought to constantly try to seek out blessings and vigorously flee from quarreling with any person and bring a curse down on oneself. For our sages have said, let not the blessing of the ordinary man be lightly esteemed in your eyes. Therefore, every person should wish to be blessed.
And this brings us to the end of tonight's class. I don't think I can say it any better than the Pele Yoetz said it. Instead of thinking to yourself, this person has someone in their family who's not feeling well, I'm sure everybody's blessing them that this person should have a speedy recovery. Or thinking to yourself, this person needs a shidduch in their family, or they need more parnasa, or whatever it is, or someone's not well, whatever it is. Bless away, my friends. We are gifted with the power. Let's not forget it. Let's not take it. We should make sure to take advantage of it, right? We should bless each other, and we should make sure that we are constantly blessing other Jews and those around us, and with all of the brachas, like we say, b'chol mili d'meita, with everything good, begur, begashmis, and beruchnis. So on that note, I'd like to end off tonight's blessing. I always end off with a l'chaim, and I usually try to stick in a blessing, but today I will definitely stick in a blessing. May everyone on this call, or anyone around the world, may Jews experience only health. This is a time when everybody can use extra blessings in terms of health, guarding from Hashem, and happiness. Many people, that's an issue in their lives. I can't tell you as a rabbi, I spoke to a couple of people that unfortunately they're getting to spend too much time at home, right? And the happiness is an issue because they're cooped up and they're spouting with everybody around them, whether it's their children or their spouses, whatever it is. So l'chaim. May every single one of you know only happiness in your life. And if there's a particular bracha that you need that I don't know about, may you have it. And may you have it not just in the manner that you feel, but in an abundant manner with the bracha of Hashem, which the Talmud tells us is even more than what you think you need. Hashem has much more in store for you. L'chaim. I'd like to oil all of the machines along the way, that the process should be smooth. And any brachas that are coming your way should come down in the smoothest and the quickest fashion, and like we say, in a revealed manner. It shouldn't be, I'm experiencing something negative, but don't worry, Hashem always has a plan. No. We want to see it revealed. We want to see it open, and we want to see a true goodness in our lives. L'chaim.
L'chaim.